2010. I was driving from New Orleans, Louisiana to Eugene, Oregon. It was just me, 24F, and my 2-year-old pit bull in a 14-feet U-Haul truck with everything I owned crammed into the back, a fancy flip phone and my printout of MapQuest directions. I think the first intelligent phones came out then, but I didn't have one. Cell phone service was also much spottier, and there were long stretches through the desert where I had zero service for hundreds of miles. I was driving a lonely stretch of highway through central Texas when I realized I hadn't seen a town or exit for a long time, and my giant U-Haul was low on gas. When I'm starting to freak out and run out of gas, I see a small town coming up. I pull into this town and it is tiny. I was so worried about other things that I never paid attention to the Aches-named city, but there were only about 6 streets in the whole place. I go gas up and am ready to get back on the road. Except I cannot find my way back to the highway. I circle the town about 4 times and start getting so frustrated because this is such a tiny town. How TF can I not find my way out? I can see the highway but can't get to it. I return to the gas station to ask for directions. I paid at the pump when I got gas and never went in. When I enter for recommendations, there's a skinny, nondescript guy with black hair in front of his eyes that looks like a good wash. He's not particularly creepy, but a little rude. He never really met my eyes. He looked down at a magazine. He gives me directions that don't sound right at all. He's telling me to take a road to get me to the highway in about 17 miles. For a moment, I am dumbfounded. Then I point out that I didn't drive that far to get from the highway into town. Why so far to return to the road? I can see it from the city. He is so casual, almost like I'm just an annoyance and can follow his directions or not. Why should he care? He gives me some explanation about the road curving around that doesn't make sense. He still doesn't look at me. Just whatever. I gave you your directions and waved his hand toward the door. When I entered the parking lot, my whole body started trembling violently, and my heart started racing, seemingly for no reason. I got into the truck and burst into tears. As soon as I put the key into the ignition, I had the most terrible feeling that this man had bad intentions, no matter how calmly he acted. I didn't know what, but I knew right then and there that there was no way I would follow his directions. Yet this was the only store in this little town, and short of knocking on doors, no thank you, there was no one else to ask for directions. I decided I didn't give a shit if this town seemed like something dropped out of the Twilight Zone. I was going to drive around until I found my way out, even if it took all damn night. Then a big red beater of a pickup truck, as much rust as metal, pulls up and disgorges the quintessential Texan man, massive, husky, and in flannel and work boots. I jumped out of the truck and approached him quickly yet warily without even thinking about it. Looking into his eyes, I saw a kind human being, or at least I hoped I did. I asked him if he could please give me directions to the highway. I told him I knew it was silly, but I couldn't find my way back. He looked concerned as I was visibly upset, so he made me laugh and very cheerfully gave me directions for a hairpin curve turnoff right at the end of a small concrete tunnel I had passed several times. He said it often confused travellers because it was so hard to see. They needed to put up signs, etc. With a sinking feeling in my stomach, I asked him how far in miles it was back to the highway. He laughed and gave me a funny look. "Miles, miss? I'd say it's a 1/4 mile at most. You can see the highway right from here." I couldn't help it. I had to know. "What happens if I drive?" I gave him the directions the man in the store had given me. Texas looked at me intently and asked me how I knew about that route. It was pretty far out. Usually only locals knew about it. So I told him. He was quiet for a few minutes and then asked what the attendant looked like and if I had a state map. Nope, just my MapQuest wasn't helpful in this situation. He goes to his truck and grabs a raggedy local map from his glove box. Spreading it out for me, he traces the route I describe. The way the man from the gas station had told me to go led away from town, away from the interstate and seemingly to the middle of nowhere. Texas told me that the road went about 17 miles before dead-ended in the desert. I asked him what was out there, and he told me it was nothing but junked cars, a few trailers and mobile homes, all owned by the same family. This family was known locally as troublemakers, meth heads, and alcoholics. These were the nice things townspeople had to say about them. And the erstwhile clerk was part of this family and lived down that road. I'll never forget Texas's eyes as he told me this. He also told me I was wise to listen to my instincts and be careful travelling out there. I don't know if the man from the gas station wanted what was in the back of my U-Haul or the driver's seat, but thankfully I didn't have to find out. I learned that sometimes angels look like ruddy-haired Texans with worn faces and rusty pickups. Thank you, random Texan stranger. You saved my ass, and I will never forget you with tons of love. Sorry, I didn't ask your name. You're forever Texas to me now. Edit. Thank you, everyone, for your time reading about my crazy encounter and all the beautiful comments and awards. You all don't know how often I almost didn't post this. Thank you for all the kindness and well wishes. Love you all. I was edited for Time Frame and Age on July 4th, 21. I talked to my mum and realised I was wrong about the year it happened. She also helped me finally figure out why I couldn't place where this happened, even though I've made this drive several times. This post is long enough, but the circumstances that took me off the beaten path across Texas were so bizarre that I guess I blocked them out of my memory until she said something. I thought it deserved its thread.